Hey, thanks for clicking on the video. Today I want to talk about a certain weapon, one that rose from the ashes and now dominates the loadouts of nearly every player, or at the very least, it should be. This exotic birthed a build so good, it felt like cheating. I am of course talking about Lord of Wolves. Now, I'm not here to just show you how broken this exotic shotgun is, I'll do that, but I mainly want to talk about what the future holds for our current favorite toy. Now, as usual, there are timestamps down below if you're looking for any specific portion of this video, and while down there, a subscription would be greatly appreciated. But with all that said, let's do a quick rundown of Lord of Wolves for anyone unfamiliar with the current state of it, with the relatively new rework, and then we'll look at what it can do. Its perk says it fires a powerful short-range burst of solar damage. We can see this unique performance in the B-roll, with it acting more like a special pulse rifle than a shotgun. Really, there's not a whole lot more to the main exotic perk. Its second perk though is one thing that just got reworked and reads, when firing from the hip, this weapon shoots in full auto, and damage and fire rate are increased, but accuracy and range are decreased. Now looking at that, think Choir 1. When we hip fire, you can see the shots discharging very quickly. ADS, it's a lot slower, but that's not the only difference between these two modes. Both have different effective ranges. We can see the hip fire literally hitting immunes, which forces you to be relatively close to your target. ADS doesn't really run into the issue, and can actually kind of cross-map enemies. I should also mention, while looking at this weapon does hit crits, even when hip firing, and that's very important for getting max damage from this thing. And on that note, where damage is concerned, that also differs by mode. An ADS shot to Carl's crit is 9.5 thousand, and a body is 5k. When we hip fire, those numbers go up to 16.7k per crit and 10k per body. So that's about a 44% increase to precision damage and a 100% increase to body damage. And given that there's 5 shots in a burst, while hip firing, you can deal about 83,000 damage per burst, assuming you're hitting crits, or 50,000 if you have all body accuracy. And that's a lot of damage coming from one single trigger pull. For some context, a sleeper simulated shot deals 114,000, and a Queen Breaker shot in its high damage mode deals 105,000, and then a rocket deals about 100,000. So you're getting similar damage from one shot in a special weapon. And then taking its magazine into account, which is 6 trigger pulls total, Lord of Wolves is holding optimally about 500,000 damage or 300,000 damage if you just hit bodies. But that's per mag. Across your reserves, that goes up to 4.5 million damage optimally, or 2.7 with just bodies, so you can expect in that range. And as you can see here, this gets unloaded very, very quickly. Now, the last part of Lord of Wolves is its new catalyst that boosts it a bit more. Here it reads, increases reload speed and stability. While Release the Wolves is active, damaging targets with this weapon applies Scorch when aiming down sights, defeating a target spreads Scorch to those nearby. You can look at that in game with ADS kills essentially giving us Incandescent, and the hipfire shots add Scorch until an ignition happens, with this being after about 8 shots. Which, considering these effects, means more Lord of Wolves on an enemy means more damage, as you'll build up to an ignition faster. And where the ignition is concerned, you can actually stun unstoppable champions with that too. Granted, it does take 8 shots. Now, before taking a peek at a few boss melts, another facet of this weapon that is pretty broken is its ammo economy. From a brick, we get 85 bullets. That's almost 3 mags for an effective 1.4 million damage. This weapon puts out so much damage with such ammo efficiency that you can easily run it as a double special setup. My favorite loadout recently has been Lord of Wolves plus Tenacious Mastery, and we can see Tanasha getting 10 shots and Lord of Wolves getting 40. If you chain special finishers, this is an easy loadout to run. But if you decide to only run Lord of Wolves, you'll absolutely never have to worry about ammo. Also, if you are curious about scavs, they're not really worth it, only giving you +5 ammo with scavs, which is technically just 1 shot. So the value for taking up a mod slot is kind of eh. Now, considering this is all base performance, I'm gonna play some clips of what this weapon can do. These are clips I got when making my no backup plans build that give this weapon even more damage, so if you're curious about that, go check out that video. But what you're seeing is just 3 Lord of Wolves. It wasn't practiced, it wasn't thought out, it's not even optimal. This is just something Lord of Wolves does. I also don't have clips of it, but I've baked pretty much every raid boss with this gun. And the flowchart for doing so is simple. If it can be hit by Lord of Wolves hipfire, it dies. But now while you're watching things explode in the footage, I think we need to ask ourselves, how long is this gonna be around for? What's gonna happen to Lord of Wolves, and what do we do once it gets adjusted? So starting with what they might do to Lord of Wolves, I think the big issue is, of course, its damage per second. Dropping 500,000 damage in about 3 seconds is pretty dumb. In the grand scheme of Destiny 2, the only things that really compete with that is burst-focused rocket DPS. But where heavy weapons like a rocket run out of ammo and have a hard time getting more ammo, our pal Lord of Wolves just keeps on firing. Now, as much as I have fallen in love with the shotgun, I think we can agree it probably shouldn't be outdoing heavy weapons. And to include a bit more context on that, Bungie knows this is too strong. They literally disabled it for the last dungeon race. Now, as for how Bungie might adjust things, it'll likely be a flat percentage nerf to the hipfire shot, going from plus 44% on a crit to maybe plus 20% or lower, with bodies probably dropping to plus 50%. Honestly, they might just be fine with the hipfire having its increased fire rate and completely dropping the damage increase. But then to tune things a bit finer, they'll likely reduce its total reserves as well. This is very similar to how they adjusted Choir of One, reducing its higher than intended hipfire damage to then finally lowering its reserves by 50. Now, as for when these possible changes come, we just recently got the last twit of Heresy's second act. Within, there was no mention of Lord of Wolves. I think this is when they would have said something if a nerf was imminent, so with that idea, Lord of Wolves seems like it's going to be kicking for a while longer. At least until Rite of the Nine officially releases. This upcoming dungeon event is going to be eaten alive by Lord of Wolves if they don't nerf it. Bungie knows this, and I don't think they're just going to band-aid fix it with another temporary disable. Now, as for when Rite of the Nine is going to drop, we actually don't know yet. Some point in Act 3 is about all we have. My guess is that it'll be 2 to 3 weeks after Act 3 drops, and when that happens, we'll have had a number of twids and blog posts which should hopefully let us know about their plans for our broken little exotic. But with that said, there's also a chance they nerf it with 0 warning when Act 3 drops this Tuesday. There's also a chance they just never nerf it. But now, possible nerfs and time from aside, what do we do once it's gone if it leaves? Well, I know I'm just going to go back to running Choir of One. Using Choir of One or Rocket Sidearm is likely just going to be the default, assuming they run Lord of Wolves into the ground. For boss DPS, Queenbreaker and Rockets are still going to be good. We'll just be using what we use now for bosses that aren't in shotgun range. Or, on the other hand, if they don't butcher it, there's a chance we'll still be running Lord of Wolves just in a more balanced state. I do think an important thing to watch out for is how bad the nerf actually is. You'll see thumbnails and posts about how they've killed it and it's ruined and it's not usable, but just wait until we actually get it for ourselves to pass judgment, or at the very least, real numbers. I remember when some people thought Choir was dead after its initial round of nerfs, and they couldn't have been more wrong. With that said though, this episode has been ruled by a single exotic, and no matter what comes next, we'll always remember baking bosses with this silly little shotgun. So thank you for getting this far into the video. Your viewership means an absolute ton. We're on the road to 15,000 subscribers, and I would love to have you as part of the community. If you want to support me, support the channel, a like, a comment, a subscription goes a very long way. You can also join if you want to go the extra mile. If you want to support me, support the channel, but you can't think of a comment down below, Lord of Wolves. And with that, as usual, I hope you are having a great day, and I hope to see you around.